filed in a new case out of Florida at the Florida Supreme Court. We'll get to that in a moment. But Cece, there are two conflicting cases on the abortion pill right now at the district court level, different district courts, one in Florida, one in Texas, one in Washington State, that one bans the abortion pill and would uphold that ban, but there is a 1 week delay on that court decision. And then Washington State saying status quo, abortion pill's okay.
Right. So this is about the drug Mifepristone, which actually stops the pregnancy and actually kills the unborn baby. And so this judge in Texas said the FDA ignored legitimate safety concerns when it approved this drug. So basically, he's put an injunction on the FDA approval of this drug. Meanwhile, in Washington, that judge said status quo, the FDA's approved it, it's an approved drug. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But we've been involved in this fight for a long time, especially with Mifepristone, and that it's not a safe drug. In 2020, we actually sent a letter to the Department of Health and the FDA, and we pointed out that although the FDA declared that Mifepristone is safe and effective, it puts perfectly healthy women in the hospital, and it may not work in a safe or effective way nearly 25% of the time it's implemented. We pointed out that even in the clinical trials, there was hemorrhaging. 1 out of 100 women had to be hospitalized, and then even surgeries that happened. So we have been able to point out that this is not a safe drug. And actually, the FDA has actually acknowledged that because they put in risk evaluation and mitigation strategies acknowledging the serious complications associated with this drug, yet it's approved.
A lot of this came under COVID with telemedicine. And it was whether or not this could be prescribed via telemedicine. We've seen large, by the way, pharmacy chains say they don't want to get in this business of this drug because there's too many laws going back and forth, and this wasn't how it was prescribed before. This was not something they would hand out. In fact, when this drug came out, if you utilized it, you went to Planned Parenthood, and they watched you take it to make sure none of those complications occurred.
That's absolutely right, because those are the risk evaluation and mitigation strategies that the FDA has said they've acknowledged. There are serious complications with this drug, and so it needs to be overseen by a medical professional. But yet we're seeing that they're attacking, and Becerra is one of them, even when he was an attorney general in California, who's a fan of this drug and really wants it to be prescribed with no oversight whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, they just want it to be, you get and it can be done by telemedicine. I need to have an abortion. Telemedicine, they call it in, and you just pick it up and you take this. And yet that's not how this drug was ever administered before. And a lot of this safeguards started going out the window under COVID. So states are starting to say after the overturning of Roe versus Wade, we don't have to allow this in our state. That this does not have to be something that just goes unchecked and unregulated. But listen, this is the wildest part about this story, is that even if you're not as engaged on the abortion issue, listen to Javier Becerra when he's asked, would you ignore a court order? Okay, a separate but co-equal branch of the United States government. Would you tell the executive branch to ignore a court order? You would think his answer right off the bat would be no, absolutely not. We disagree with it. We're going to fight it out, but no, absolutely not. We have this system of government, the rule of law. We've talked about that a lot the past, like last week with the indictment of the president, this week with this. But listen to his response instead.
Are you taking it off the table that you will recommend the FDA ignore a ban?
Everything is on the table. The president said that way back when the Dobbs decision came out. Every option is on the table.
So that would include, CC, if an option which would be, again, unprecedented, because, and by the way, dangerous precedent to start setting Democrats and pro-abortion advocates that you could just ignore court orders, because there's going to be a lot of courts that are going to try to install, broad abortion rights at the state level. Can we just ignore that? I mean, because if they start that precedent, the law does not matter anymore in the United States.
That's right. So to this administration, complete lawlessness is an option. That's on the table. And that is ridiculous because we do have a judge here. And although he did an injunction saying that the FDA ignored legitimate safety concerns and put an injunction on this law, he did put a stay on it for 7 days for the DOJ to appeal, which they have already filed their notice of appeal. So this is going to go up on appeal. And right now it's not enjoined, but it could be depending on what the Fifth Circuit does. But again, we've heard from the administration that if the court doesn't rule the way they want, they'll just ignore it.
We actually filed today, the ACLJ. We're always taking action on these issues. And so, Cece, today in Florida, the Florida Supreme Court, we're filing on behalf of the state of Florida on their 15-week ban.
That's right. So it's House Bill number 5, which is a Florida law that prohibits the abortion of an unborn child after 15 weeks, which was similar to the Dobbs case. And we just filed our brief saying that they need to uphold the House bill because the state definitely has a compelling interest in protecting unborn children before viability.
Yeah, so the ACLJ taking action there. The blog is up there at aclj.org if you want to read it. It's also got a link to our brief. But I think what is most dangerous here, and they do this under the abortion issue because this is the issue that, again, we always say they worship at the altar of abortion. But the precedent that would be set, take abortion out of it, which is tough to do with abortion politics, but you just had a cabinet member say on television, would you ignore a court order, a co-equal branch of government's order because you don't like it? And would you instruct your department just to ignore it like it never happened? And he said, well, it's on the table. That would be on the table in the United States of America. We talk about banana republic. We talk about lawlessness. It's not just violence in the streets lawlessness. It's when the federal government, when the executive branch starts saying, we don't care about that judicial branch that the founding fathers created with the, again, with our systems of government and our 3 co-equal branches. We'll just ignore that one branch, which is the judicial branch. Folks, that is dangerous.